Or, yeah.
So this is version 1.5.6, discussion after a week of intensive, almost 24-hour development with 20 developers or so.
Yeah, we had our entire dev team focused on this project for the past week.
And a bunch of freelancers as well.
Yep. Core concept behind Unite.Social has a lot to do with the feeds and being able to post and view feeds of many of your social medias that are pretty popular. So we had to figure out ways to use Google Plus feed, use the Facebook feed, and posting to Facebook, Instagram. Many of these different social medias have some documentation of how to do this, but a lot of it has to be custom written. And so it definitely involved a lot of hurdles and roadblocks to overcome. We succeeded, and functionality is working. And last I tested, so.
Sure. You want to just, sometimes there's some back and forth between something that's functional, not functional, something that's a build. So let's start with kind of where we are. What is beta, and why are we at beta with Unite.Social? Why do we need beta?
So we are at a point right now where we've accomplished a lot of the original features that were intended of this app. We're at a point where there's a certain amount of functionality of, does it work? Do these back-end ideas actually work when you test them out? And we are ready for a release to external testers at this point, so that people can start using it, start giving us feedback on if certain areas of the app are slow, if certain areas of the app are confusing, if we need to do any sort of redesign on user experience or user interface, and any other sort of issues or concerns, or even ways that we can improve. And maybe it's even at a point where we need to start sort of looking at the big picture and figuring out, do we want all of these features? Do we want to isolate it into a more focused? Do we want to expand, make it more focused? So,
just a little bit of history too. Unite.Social is a platform that allows users to add various types of social media platforms and view them all in one place and post to everything in one place. The idea is that you have one app on your phone that you can sit down on your sofa at night, and instead of having to log into 12 different networks, you can still participate in all 12 of those networks, but actually view them and post to them all in one place at one time or separately. Let's go to the next slide, Jake. It seems pretty obvious, but in order to be able to use this app, you either have to have it on your phone or be on the website, right?
Yeah, so this this app is a website as well as a iOS app for your phone, assuming you're using Apple. We can make a build for Android, but we haven't done that at this current time. One of the
that
cool
won't
things,
take long, though. It's a matter of just...
Yeah, so we built it using a hybrid code base so that it can be translated into the software that Apple uses for apps, as well as the software that Google Play uses. So it's just a matter of a few keystrokes under a day to switch it over. As far as right now where we're at, so again, it's a website that you make changes on the website, and the changes are reflected in the app. You make changes on the app, and they are reflected on the website, which is pretty cool. Sort of like when you use Facebook, when you post something on the phone, the same post is there on the website, and vice versa. If you post on the website, it's on your phone. With
the first step of this, I guess, and what I said was it may be it may be kind of silly to say, but you have to download an app or go to the website, and I think that's what this screenshot is trying to tell us. Right now, it's not available to the general public, right?
Correct. Yep.
It's only available two different ways: internal and external testers. Want to tell us about this and how that?
Yeah. So when we make apps, we have to have an Apple developer account, and so that means that as a programmer or a software engineer, we have an agreement with Apple that we can make apps for that platform. At that point, we are given a certain amount of users that can be internal testers for any of our apps that we make. And so generally what we'll do is we'll have developers be the internal testers, and that way we can upload a new build. And essentially a build is when you write code for an app and you want to sort of save it at that place in order to...
For internal and external users to see it.
Exactly. In order to share that app with other people, you save it in what is called a build. And so we are at, as you said earlier, build 1.5.6. And so that means...
It does that much easier than I do.
At that point, well, to give you some idea of sort of what that means, that we've gone through, for example, like 1.0.2, 1.0.3. We've gone through a bunch of these sort of steps to get to where we are now.
Let me ask you this. Do you have any idea of where Facebook is on their builds?
So, yeah, I actually checked the App Store the other day, and it looked like Facebook was at version 14 point, something point something. So.
Which means they've gone through 1.1, 1.12, 1.3.
And you can even go 1.1.11 if you want, or 1.1.12. And so there's a lot of work that goes into something like Facebook.
Before it's perfect.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And so when we talk about bugs and those kind of things, that's a result of
many versions,
many
builds, many tests. They went through internal testers like crazy. They went through external testers like crazy. And,
we're doing the same thing.
We're doing exactly the same thing.
Okay. So the two different types of users, there's internal and external. The internal users are for ISO employees or freelancers or people that have worked with us that are involved on a daily basis that has more availability to see things than an external user immediately.
Right. Yep.
An external user gets approved by Apple.
So when the internal testers make a new build, so for internal it takes maybe 15 minutes to release that build for other internal testers. Once the internal testers are ready with sharing that build to external testers, we have to go through a process where we send it to Apple, and Apple has an algorithm or potentially actual people that review it to make sure,
on the sophistication of the
and to make sure that it's not going to harm your phone.
Sure.
And so that typically takes anywhere between 1 and 3 days.
Okay. And then longer if the build is more sophisticated or larger.
I mean, it's at that point it's out of our control, and it's up to Apple to
make sure that we met all of their policies.
And sometimes, if it doesn't, it's not guaranteed to pass either. If it doesn't pass, then they send us an email. We have to fix something and then send it back. And so it can be a back and forth a little bit.
The next thing that I want to talk about a little bit is once we've got it downloaded on our phone and we tap on it, we then have to get to the process of logging in. And we went through many scenarios, and I think that it's kind of interesting while talking to Facebook is that what we've been working on for over 6 months now. I just got an update on my, I don't know if you saw this, but on Facebook, they're asking for a 4-digit PIN now.
Oh, that's great.
Which I think means that we're either right on their tail end or somebody sharing information with Facebook. Probably not. But at least it means that we are at least on the cutting edge of where to go. And if you see here, we thought about usernames and passwords and how we can log in quickly and get users to use this. So what we said is enter your phone number, so you've got nice big keys, then create a 4-digit PIN. Right? And then click next. And then you get to this screen, which it's asking you for your full name. So every time, my understanding is every time somebody enters a new phone number and a new password, it takes them to this screen. The database, if it doesn't recognize your cell phone number, it's not going to know who you are, and it's going to take you to this screen. Right? You want to walk us through this screen a little bit?
Yeah, so this screen is, again, as you said, if you are a new user, if you've, first time opening the app, haven't gone here, enter your phone number, then you can enter your name. Now, when you enter your name, it's going to associate your name with your number and PIN. So in the future, you log on to any device, anywhere, any website, or any computer where you're on a browser and you go to Unite.Social, you'll be able to enter that same information, and you won't have to enter this screen anymore in the future.
You won't have to go through the several steps of
Correct.
Your name and often setting up your account. So the process of Unite.Social is kind of a setup process in the beginning. That's part of it. Is we won't magically know what platforms a user's on.
Right.
They have to give us access to that, give us permission to access those sites in order to display that information. So this is the first step, is getting to know who they are. And so we'll ask them for their full name. So somehow they've either a friend's told them, they've seen some advertising, whatever it is, they've downloaded the app, now they're going to put in their name. We'll walk through this a little bit here. As you can see, it says enter your name and Facebook credentials. Hopefully the video is going to start now. We're going to enter David. David, I guess, is this person's name. And now it's going to ask us to set up, I guess, Facebook, right?
Yep. At this point, you have the option of right away configuring Facebook, which is kind of like the first place that you can start with configuring something. You can also hit next, and you can do it later. You're not mandated to do it right away.
You just would not see any feeds or anything.
Right. You just, we would probably start you with maybe like a default feed, and you can overwrite that once you configure it yourself. Yeah.
Okay, so this user who set up this video for us is logging into their Facebook page, and now they're clicking next. And it looks like here they've already set up. We've now switched from a view where they have already set up.
Yeah. So this is a user that has already set up a few different social medias.
Okay. I assume there's more slides. We'll talk about that a little down the road, right? So this is the view of the social wall. Do you want to tell us the concept of the social wall?
Sure. So the social wall here, you see a bunch of buttons or icons of different social media. So you start on the top left of the all icon. And the all icon is when you click on.
We're talking about this button right here.
Correct. Yep. When you click on the all icon, it activates every other icon that is in this view as
every social platform.
Exactly.
That you've set up.
As on. So all the feeds for Facebook, Twitter, in this case, Google+, YouTube, Vimeo, Pinterest, all of those will then show below. As you see the red.
So let's break it down a little bit. So if I pull out my phone, you're telling me that I can click on all after I've entered my username and password for Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I click on all, and I can see those posts down below.
That's correct, and they will be sorted by most recent. So if something happens in Twitter 4 seconds ago, it'll show up on the top. If something then happens in Facebook
1 second ago.
1 second ago, it'll show up above that.
Okay. So I see the Unite logo here. If I click on Unite, what's that going to show?
So every time that you post to a social network through this app or this website, those posts will be saved into your Unite posts. So those are directly posts that you have generated. So let's say you're running a social marketing campaign or something, and you want to post to all your social media at one place, and maybe you want to do it again. Maybe
I just have a picture of my birthday party and of my dog eating the cake, and I want to post that to everywhere to share with my friends.
Yeah, let's say you did it, but you forgot to send it to one social media, and you're like, oh yeah, I wish I just had shared that one post with this other social media. Is there any way I can do that without copying it and doing it over? Well, you can just go to that post, click on it, and you can share it to the other social media.
So let me get this straight. And there's some cute videos I've seen that we've done related to how Unite.Social does this, but if I were to set up my Facebook and my Twitter, and I post a video of my dog eating my birthday cake, and then later I add YouTube, I would be able to click on the Unite.Social tab. I would be able to see all the posts that I have posted through Unite.Social, and then share those on YouTube if it was a video.
That's the idea. Yep.
Right. Okay. So let's take a look at the next one. Down here at the bottom, we have a scroll. Boris's birthday was on June 6th. So this, from what my understanding, is kind of a news feed of notifications and things that are taking place on your social media.
Yep. At the current moment, that is only configured with Facebook right now, but it's a very easy step to configure all the social medias to have the most recent updates show up on the news feed on the bottom.
Okay, so in addition to, in my timeline, being able to see the posts that I've posted and my friends have posted, my timelines, basically, I would be able to see at the bottom notifications. So no longer on my iPhone would I have to have all these things popping up on my iPhone, bothering me all day of all these people who are posting cats while I'm at work. I can log into my app and see that John Smith, his birthday was today, and that he posted a picture of his dog eating his birthday.
And if there's a new update, it'll just show up right there.
That's great. And it just continues to scroll.
It just continues.
Great. So these are friends. These are people who are also on Unite. There we go. Too many times. So these are people who are also on Unite, right? And currently, I know that the client has requested that we move these to be randomized rather than just the way we have it now. Unite collects data, so we currently have it set up so that the ones who have the most data are at the top. And when we say we collect data, we collect the information about the profile of the user, who they are, where they went to school, all the things that are public already about the user, not things that are secured behind the password.
We are not breaking any sort of security issues. We're not bypassing people's passwords or anything like that. We are simply just getting public information that people have.
That people could just go to a website and find regardless. All right. And so then that information is, as you see, these are the users. Then if you click on it, I hope you click on it.
We'll click on it.
Okay. So the ones that have avatars are people, I guess, that we don't actually have pictures of, but maybe other information. And then you can actually see the information about that user, right? The public information. Okay. So there's a lot of platforms out there, right? And in the beginning of this, I think the idea is to have as many as we possibly can have. And talk a little bit about the platforms and what you maybe expect to see users doing, so we can go back and say, hey, this was right, not right, maybe. Or do you expect users will put every platform that we're on? I've seen some on there, like MySpace, for example.
We definitely have some that are more popular than others, and I think part of the next step could be sort of look at the social medias that we do have and try to figure out who uses what. So look at big data and figure out, okay, so people the ages between 18 and 24 are using Facebook primarily, and maybe people between the ages of 34 and 54 are using Dribble. I don't know, but we would have to sort of look at this, and one idea could be to investigate and try to make different choices on, do we want to pursue a certain demographic or not?
Sure. Really easy, we'll be able to tell how many people have uploaded those number of apps. We'll then be able to look at the data that they have, we've collected or they have provided, and through that data be able to make intelligent decisions about the direction that Unite needs to go in, basically. And so you can get to all these platforms by basically coming here, clicking on all platforms, and you see them in the app on the website. What do we do from there when I assume these are not the platforms you have configured. These are platforms to configure, right?
Correct. These are the entire list of platforms that we invite the user to configure.
Okay.
And so once you configure one, it'll then show up on your social wall, the main page, and you'll be able to then see the feed.
Right. So this is a help screen, it looks like. One of the things that I've noticed that the client actually wrote us an email about this morning was, where did we put the tutorial or the help screens? And this is kind of an intelligent way, I said, of a user being able to use a tutorial on demand. So there is a question mark at the top of the app. If you question what you're doing, you click on it. This overlays what steps you need to take to make things happen. So you want to just walk us through this?
So if we look at this was as you said, it was a question mark at the top right corner of the social wall screen that you can click on, and it knows where you are when you click on it. So in this case, what we're looking at is the Unite.Social logo on the top in the circle where it says tap to go back to the main feed. If at any point when you're on this view, if you want to go back to the social wall where you see all the feeds, you can click on the icon right there.
Give me an idea of when I would want to do that.
Well, let's say you are, looking at the friends and you're going through them or you're looking at, maybe all your platforms, but you're not looking at the wall, and you think, well, I want to get back to the wall so I can just see what's going on. At any point, you can always hit that button because it's always visible in this view, and you can go back to this page.
Gotcha. So if I'm looking for people that I know by scrolling through all the millions of users that are on Unite, and I find one and I'm looking at it, I can click Unite.Social and go back. I also assume if I've made a post or something like that I'm looking at, basically anytime I hit Unite.Social, it's like the home button.
Exactly. Yep.
The menu tab. So I'm currently on the page on my phone, basically, that is the newsfeed, and I click help, and it's telling me I have three basic options. I can click on the home tab, click on the menu, tap to post, actually four, or I can browse up and down, right?
Yep.
So the menu tab, we just saw it. We get to all platforms that way. We've changed menu a little bit, in fact, a lot. What gave us this idea of kind of a slider that flows with the app up and down the page?
So the cool thing with the fixed button for the menu is that
we're talking about this button, right? This one right here.
Yes, correct. Even if you are, again, sort of like anywhere within the process, if you're like scrolling super down or whatever, and it takes too long to scroll all the way up, you can hit this side menu and it pops open a list of 4 options. At that point, you can navigate anywhere, whether it's go back to the social wall, to configure more networks, to look at friends. So it gives you all of the options.
It's the main navigation for the social wall.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
There is another navigation, right? And it's at the top. I call it a hamburger button.
Yep.
It's this button right here. What is that?
So that one brings you to the other features within the app that are not on this view. For example, and I think we'll get into it a little on later, but the all-in-one, the favorites, the about section of the project Unite.Social, as well as some other features.
Okay. The tap to post, I'm sure we're going to talk about. And the idea on the scrolling up and down to see your news feed. I guess a timeline may be better. You're not actually seeing a news feed of news events. That's something else, right?
Yep, it's all your timeline of different social medias, and you just use your thumb to scroll up or down.
Okay, and tap the button to post. Okay. So it says it's learn about all the features. That's what I'm and I guess now what we're seeing is this says all-in-one. All-in-one, popular apps ranging from sports, transportation, education, dating categories. So I guess right now we're on the wall and we're trying to go to an all-in-one feature. So one of the things that this app does, it's kind of cool, is it allows you to, from inside the app, go to other apps, even beyond the social media apps.
Yep.
Right? And it gives the user ability to favorite that so they could potentially use this like their own operating system.
Yep. This is like a one place for everything kind of thing.
Okay, so let's take a look at that. So now we've touched that hamburger button and we've clicked on one and all-in-one. And then this comes up. And so now somebody's checked the help button and what to do now. So I've clicked on the all-in-one. I'm at home and I've said, you know what, I want to find another platform to do something, or maybe I've favorited my all. I can click on the hamburger button. I go to the all-in-one. Now I'm not really sure what to do because it's my first time here, and I click the help button, and I see this screen, which is a great opportunity for you to describe all-in-one and how it works.
So essentially, with the all-in-one, we have about 20 so categories of different things, sort of like entertainment, social media, travel, transportation, education, those kind of things. And within each category, you can click on one category, and then underneath of it will be, several apps that fall into that category that you may not have on your phone already. But when you click on that app, you'll be able to see links for the App Store link if it has one. You'll be able to see a link directly to that app if the app is already on your phone. You'll also be able to see the website link. So let's say, you want food or something. So you click on the food category. It then gives you some options of where you can order food, for example. Maybe there's an app that you already have on your phone for ordering food. Maybe there's a website.
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
I can use Unite. Let's say I always order from a particular food delivery service like Foodler. Or maybe I always use Uber for my car service.
Yep.
And maybe I am on Foodler and I say, you know what, they don't have my favorite restaurant. They don't deliver from my favorite restaurant.
Right.
And I would be able to then compare different services or different apps, different websites,
Yep.
view descriptions about them, and then launch that app or get that app right from Unite.Social.
Yep, that's correct.
All right. Tell us about how we did that a little bit. You did some, but I know there's a process called backlinks. Talk about those.
Yeah, so we call them deep links, and they're
Deep
known
links,
for as other stuff sometimes too. Essentially, these are links that if you are using your phone, for example, you can enter, if you want to find a deep link, for example.
Was this an easy process, by the way? Was there a list where you go buy deep links?
So deep links are not publicized to the world. These are something that you, for the most part, have to guess and check and kind of figure out. But if you take out your phone right now, if you have an Apple phone, try going to your browser right now and entering in, I'm pretty sure it's maps:// hit go, and you should see, assuming everything is correct, it will open up an alert that says, would you like to open up Maps? It just so happens that the URL that I just gave is a deep link to open up the Maps application that's pre-built into a phone for Apple.
Gotcha.
And so there's a lot of these links.
So we figured all this out just by guessing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we put a team in a room and we said, your job, here is 100, 500, whatever it was, different apps. We need you to find the way that company listed their app so that we can download the app for you.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's not an absolute guarantee that these links even exist. A lot of the times, the company or let's say Snapchat or something, right? Mm-hmm. They're not mandated to make a deep link. They don't have to make it.
It's a convenience.
They may not even have one. But if they do, we intended on finding it. And so we were able to look at 100 or so apps that had apps in the App Store. And, of course, we checked the obvious sort of first guess, like let's put in the name and then : / That's not always the case.
Right.
Right. A lot of the times, like Facebook isn't like FACEBOOK : / It's just, I think, FB : / So all these companies, they do it a little different, if they even do it. And so we were able to get, something like 75 deep links, and only 3 of them were easy and obvious.
And this is something that ongoing we constantly monitor and check and keep up with, right? Mm-hmm. You've talked about and this is kind of a side note, but something that I think is worth talking about. You talked about, the app's now getting big, right? I mean, we have a lot of features. We're going to go through the all-in-one a little bit more. But how do you keep up with all of this? And your suggestion to this was to actually create a program that is like it's a robot that tests the app. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so at this point, we haven't built in a test suite to it. But essentially, a test suite could be very beneficial in this case because it would, like a robot, go through and check, whenever we make a new feature, for example, we need to make sure that it's not breaking anything that came before.
Right.
And so at this scale, we've got a lot going on. If someone does something that, maybe removes a semicolon in another file without realizing it, or
we have issues.
Yeah, the whole thing breaks.
Sure.
So then you have to right now we have people going in, quality assurance engineers going in to check. Does Facebook? Does posting to Facebook still work? Does a friends feed still work? Does this still work?
Sure.
And we have it all working. We just need to make sure that it continues to work. And so having a test suite or that automated script that goes through and checks, by a click of a button, if something is broken, it'll tell us before we ever have to, release a new build.
Right.
It could be extremely valuable for moving forward.
Could that also produce reports of what's working, what's not working on a daily basis?
Mm-hmm.
I assume that with people will eventually try to hack this. Will it give us reports on that as well and let us know, hey,
if any changes happen, we'll find out about it.
Okay. I assume it was a challenge working with 40 developers at sometimes and more.
Yep.
How did you overcome that? Talk about one comma or semicolon being removed. And I should say, in the beginning of this app 2 years ago, or a year and a half, whatever it was, we had people working on pieces of this that they had no idea what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
They were tasked with just do this.
Yep.
And they did it, and now we've got all this. We've brought it together, many different developers, coders, everything else. Now you've got all these people in a room working here in their ISO location.
Yep.
Now how do you make sure that people aren't deleting files, downloading other things? Tell us about the repository, or how a repository works.
We use a version control system.
Which we won't talk about for the safety reasons of not
Yeah,
talking about.
so everything that we do is private in our own company's repositories.
But tell what a repository is and how that works so that people can understand.
So essentially, I'll say there's two ways of writing code as a team. On one hand, you can do it in a way that we don't do anymore, which is, let's say me and you are working on the same code, and I write a file for the homepage or something, and make the title one thing and maybe some backend code that does something else. And then in order for you to work on it, I'd have to send you everything that I did, the files and all of that, give it to you, and then you'd make your changes and then send it back to me. But
doesn't sound like the most efficient way to do things.
Definitely not efficient. Let's say that we were both working on this file at the same time, and we wanted to bring it together, to merge it together.
So in other words, I'm sitting here writing the title, and at the same time you're putting in pictures, somebody else is writing back in.
But let's say I also edited the title.
Okay.
So we both edited the title without really knowing that we were both working on the title.
Right.
And then
I wanted Unite.Social to be called Unite. You wanted it to be called Unite.Social, and Dasha wanted it to be called
Unite.Social. Yeah. Yep. Well, then we have conflicts, and we'd be
the repository tells us now we have conflicts.
Yeah. So we're using a system that allows us to see these conflicts before they become conflicts with a suggestion.
Before they become problems. Right?
Before they become problems, and it suggests a way to organize it and clean it up. So, for example, in the last 2 days, we had, I think, 300 commits.
A commit means that somebody's pushed a button to upload something.
Yep. So every time
they've been working on
every time we push code to our repo or repository, we call that a commit. And I think we're at maybe 1,500 or something for the commits that we've done on this project so far.
Wow. Now, this isn't, I typed one line. This is somebody who's done
a
significant amount of
work each time. Yeah.
So the idea, in fact, you said to me the other day, in the world of repositories, if this was a public repository, we'd be a superstar because we've done so much to this. All right, back to this, so we can keep going with all-in-one. Favorites. So we built this all-in-one, or the idea of the all-in-one platform, and we've had it multiple different ways. But then we said, well, this doesn't do us much good because we have this big, huge list. And what if we just wanted 2 or 3 things that we use every day? And so we came up with favorites. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so favorites is pretty cool. You can go through the all-in-one category like we were looking at earlier, and there should be hearts next to them. So you can click on one, and let's say we're back at the food, and you say, all right, here's this website, the Grubhub website, for example. Let's say, I don't know if they have an app, but let's say they don't. I think they do too, but if they didn't have an app, let's say they're just a website, here's this website that I love getting food from, and then here's this app that I love getting food from too. So you can say both of those as favorites, and then you can go to your favorites and you can sort them. You could maybe move.
So I can literally move them around.
Yeah, you can customize what comes first and whatnot. You can remove them if you decide that you like one better than another or whatever. And there's an unlimited amount of favorites that you can have. So you can literally put all of the all-in-one in there,
Or
you
one.
can put one.
Yep.
One.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but then let's say that I all the time, as soon as I get ready to leave work, I go on Uber, and I one day use Lyft, and I find out one of them's cheaper for that time period. Then I can put them both as favorites and very quickly compare the two for the prices and stay inside of Unite. And at the same time be checking my Facebook page or all of my social media feeds while I'm waiting for them to arrive. One of them to arrive. Great. Love that idea. All right. So here's an example of that. Colin making our video here of is playing around on the app. He's favorited Facebook, and we open this page up, which is a description of the app. So maybe this is somewhere that you've never been before, and you'd like to know, hey, what is ABCD app? It's in this category of food and or social or whatever it may be, and it tells you what it is. And it gives you three options. Launch a website, launch the app, launch App Store. Want to describe each one of those?
Yeah, so again, if we have all three of these buttons, that means that all three of these buttons work.
So on Facebook, we can either launch a website, launch the app, or if we don't have it on our phone, it's going to bring us to the App Store.
Yeah, so essentially, for example, with Facebook, a deep link exists, so we have launched the app button there. An App Store link exists. That means that there is an app for Facebook on the App Store, so we have that there. And then there's a website for Facebook too, so we have that. So in this case, we can see what exists for this company.
Right.
And we can choose to go to the App Store, or the website.
So another cool thing is, if I were to, let's say right now, we don't know if GitHub has an app.
Right.
We could actually go to Unite.Social and find out if Unite has been able to find their app and give the deep link for it. So I could switch between their app and, for example, one of the companies I do business with, for some things I like their website, and for some things I like their app. This makes it really easy to go back and forth between the two.
Yeah, and you don't have to type in the URL if you want to go there. You just open up Unite, click on the button, and you're there.
And you're there. Like we said, there's a description. And then I guess this is us tapping on the one for the App Store, so it's bringing up actual Facebook, where we can download it. Does it continue to do each one? Let's see.
And this is the app itself.
So far both buttons work. Now I guess we're going to see the website right after.
Oh, sorry, this is the app itself. Before it was the website.
It was the website before. All right. So we have the ability inside of this, if they're available, it will show what's available. We can click on it and we can go there. I assume we're updating this all the time. This isn't so users can check back and see if we have anything new. Okay, so now we're going to look at the favorites list.
And we have some 400 plus or more, links in the all-in-one, and then each of those might have 3 links. So it's looking at 1,200 links that, again, would be great to have an automated system to just test to see if everything's working.
If everything's working, because how on earth would we check to see?
For one person to go through 1,200 links every day.
Describe beta testing. While this is playing in the background, we'll go back to it. We're not going to skip it, but tell us how beta testing works so that people can understand. It's not really just you tapping a button and deciding if something works, right?
Yeah, so beta testing is it's very valuable to developers because it allows the developers to get a full understanding of where does the app fail or break or get slow or not exceed expectations. And so, for example, the other day we were working on configuring a feed, and the team did their job. They made it work. But then when I tested it, I typed in a wrong password, and it kind of broke. So then I was able to. That was essentially beta
So we were able
testing.
to diagnose
Exactly.
issues that developers maybe hadn't considered
Right.
while they were building.
So I was able to give that information back to the developers. They ended up taking that and then made a solution for that. So then the next time I was able to test it, that issue wasn't there.
So this brings up a good point. Talk about a day in the life of the developer for ISO developers working on Unite.Social.
Yeah.
How do we handle? How do I give you? Here are the requirements from Unite.Social and from ISO regarding this week's work. It has to be done by the end of the week. How do you talk about how you manage that with your team?
So what we do is so I first go over everything because I want to make sure that I have a plan before I talk to anyone about it. And I put everything on a list and we throw it up onto a big screen that everyone in the room sees.
Right. A television screen, right?
Exactly. At that point, I'll gather everyone, we'll look at it, and I'll sort of go over. I'll be like, here today we have this, this, and that.
So I've been in your office, or I've been in the development area many times, of course. And behind your desk, there are numerous glass black boards with neon-colored chalk on it, basically, not chalk, markers on it, right? Mm-hmm. And they all say priority things.
Yep.
Then you take, that's for you primarily, right? Yep. And for me to walk in and not ask you what you're working on and disturb you. And then over across from you, where all the developers are mainly located, is a television screen similar to this, with usually a Google Doc on it that has the tasks outlined. And sometimes you bring in our project management system to see our RSS feed of things taking place. And this guides them in the direction of everyone seeing where we are in the status of tasks.
Yes. So, for example, in the past few days, this was, we use this
a crazy mad rush
as like really, really helpful tool. So we highlighted those things that were completed as green, and by completed I mean completed and tested by me.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone could see, we had a list of maybe 30 different items that needed to be green by Monday.
Sure.
And so we started off with maybe 3 of them green. And so each time, I delegate and separate groups of people to work on different things based on their skill levels and what their
and based on the user story that's taking place.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yep. And so in some cases, we had some people pair program, so they were working together on one computer, which is a great way to push forward and avoid any sort of roadblocks that really sort of get stuck. Because generally, what happens when working together with another person on code is that one person is more concerned with keeping the syntax, the sort of, is the semicolon in the right place? Are we naming the variables the right way? Am I writing the language properly? While the other person gets
to making notes, perhaps, of what I'm doing.
Right, and the other person gets to think more of a big picture, kind of like, all right, strategy to accomplishing, showing this feed. We have to think about A, we have to think about B, and then we have to do C and D in order to get back to A. And so they're thinking about that kind of stuff. So when the syntax person gets, stuck on something, the other person can jump in and say, well, let's do it this way.
Sure. I remember a couple of conversations we had where in the middle of the night, we were working literally for the last few days, 24 hours a day almost. Mm-hmm. In the middle of the night, Jacob would call and say, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. And I would not get the message right away because it was in the middle of the night. And then I would read a text message an hour later. Right. We figured it out. This is a result of that kind of pair programming, right?
Yep, definitely. And in some cases, we even had 2 small teams tackling one impossible thing, or seemingly impossible, from different angles.
There was a lot of seemingly impossible with this,
definitely,
right?
definitely.
Okay, so let's just look back to our favorites. We've kind of jumped around with this a lot, but so here we click on favorites instead of the all-in-one, and it shows us a list of all of our favorites. The hamburger buttons on the side allow us to drag and drop and move things where we want them to be. We can slide and delete, reorder those kind of things, right? And then, of course, we have the help button that tells us how to do those kind of things. This is the menu that we were talking about on the side. There's Home, All-in-One, Favorites, Mail, Apple TV Scan, Deals, Near Me, and Marketplace.
And then there's an About section right underneath that, which
Okay.
we can't see right now.
Cool. Are you telling me that I can check my mail on Unite.Social?
Yep. It links you directly to your mail.
So I can go on Unite.Social.
Mhm.
I can see all of my social media.
Yep.
I can check my mail.
Mhm.
I assume that I can add the mail preferences, the mail platforms that I want, right?
At the current moment, we can in the future. At the current moment, it is whatever mail you have currently in your apps or on your phone. So
Oh, okay.
let's
That's
say
interesting.
let's say on my phone I have iCloud mail, I have Gmail, and I have other mails there.
Mhm.
This mail button accesses that.
Okay, let's see. I don't know if that's the next screen. It is. No? So I assume tapping on the button helps us get there. Is that?
Yep. Tap on the email button and you see your mail. And then you can go right back to Unite.Social.
Okay. We saw that very quickly. I'll do it one more time only because I'm sure whoever was doing this didn't want all of their email exposed to.
This is the
Oh, that's the scan. Let me go back. We click on the button, and the email comes up, and we can check, send, do all of those kind of things, just the same way we would right on our phone. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Now we're going to go to the Apple TV Scan. This was one that I was really excited with because one of the things that I hate the most is when I love Apple TV. I don't have cable. I love Apple TV. But when I need to connect HBO so that I can watch Game of Thrones or Showtime or another network, I have to go to HBO/Activate. And I'm doing this from my phone, which is also what I'm using to control my Apple TV, so I can navigate between the two. And then I have to enter in a password or a number that's on the screen, sign in. It's a 20-step process. So with the Apple TV app, which we're waiting to get approval for, now we're able to just take the phone, click a scan button, and we're using an old technology that really is kind of irrelevant today. Many people don't like using it. It's kind of outdated, and we've kind of brought it current. I love what we did with, we took something old like a QR scanner and we put it into an app where it actually has a purpose, and we are using it. We're not going up to we're not using it to go up and scan products on a shelf and down. This has one specific purpose, and it works for that purpose. It will still read QR codes because that's what it does. But the purpose is to walk up to your television or from your bed, scan that QR code, and you're instantly linked to Unite. I like that.
Yep.
So you probably noticed my water's gone. We took a little break and we come back. One of the things that we now need to kind of discuss is we have this great platform. It does a lot of things, but in truth, it's taken a lot of money to get here. We've got a team of 30 people, 25 to 30 people working on it, all good people, so they're not, they run up a payroll. How does the thing make money? So we've included several different scenarios that Unite.Social has suggested, and we've developed. One of them is a deals feature to allow advertisers or businesses in general to upload coupons and people to visit them and use those coupons and track those coupons. And we can do that intelligently based on the data that we have been provided, and we can better that as we go. The other option is, or another idea was, Unite.Social called one day and they said, in my car I have the availability to push places and then categories and then sort these places and go someplace. How about if I could do that with places that were nearby me just on my phone, kind of like Google, I guess it's Google Places does, right? And then the other one is a marketplace where advertisers, large and small, can go and place ads and things for the Unite.Social audience. And we can gear traffic based upon a social environment to the users of Unite back into the marketplace. And I think these are all good approaches, are all good thoughts of how to make money that are now in the app and can be tested during the beta process that can give us real life data of how to use these. And what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to just click through them and let the users see how they are, and I'll talk through it, and then we can discuss each a little bit more. So this is the deals. These are the coupons that we talked about. Someone clicking the help section on how to use them. And this is the menu for the coupon section. Again, usability, ideas, designs can all be improved. Now, this is based upon a user's geolocation, right? So now we're getting geo data about the user as well.
That's correct.
So you want to tell us what just happened here on the Near Me section?
Yeah, so the Near Me section, we have a bunch of icons that show maybe art gallery or coffee or restaurants or you name it. And we can, so when a user clicks on one of those.
A bunch of business categories.
Exactly. Yeah. So when a user clicks on that, they can see any location that falls under that category that's in their vicinity using their current location. So then they'll see in the map underneath all these markers that show, all right, there's this place, this place, this place. And then you can click on one of those, or you can find out more information. See the list where it shows you an image with the name of the place and a description. You can click on that and you can find more detail to the point where you can see their address, you can call them, you name it.
And businesses could potentially add their advertising information in there or use this geolocation to help draw people into their business.
Yes, it's all customizable. We can use it however the intent is based on what we're shooting for. Yeah.
And then there's the marketplace. So the marketplace is primarily for larger type businesses. And here we can sort by country. Eventually, we just showed 2 countries because now we're in the United States. So you could sort by country, even city, state. You could use geolocation to find it. But the idea is that you can use that to find things in any store, kind of the same way we're doing with favorites. You'd be able to go there or not favorites, with all in one, but now with business locations in a marketplace environment. And we'd be able to draw social traffic to there using the data that we have. So you could be able to encourage me to go and buy a television at Walmart, and I could potentially in the future benefit from the transaction.
Right, and if a store or a company wants to show up first or higher than just generically, there's also that opportunity for that to happen too.
The About section is somewhere where we kind of started with this a long time ago, or at least this particular, I guess, 0.1 version of this was we had Colin and the video people start making videos, really cool little videos about Unite.Social, and those I believe appear here, and those are all on a YouTube page.
Yep, we have a Unite.Social channel, which has all of these videos that show a little bit about what Unite.Social is.
So each of these videos, just to go through this process, we scripted a video, we animated the characters, we wrote the storyboards, We had people do the voiceovers for them, and we animated the characters. And that's pretty much
Yep.
what happened. Okay. And so the next stages of Unite that we're talking about. So now we think we're ready to kind of let people go out there and beta test, and we expect to see a lot of bugs come back. Right? I mean, this is pretty normal.
Exactly. Yep.
And from those bugs, we make changes and corrections and fixes. So right now, what we have is the functionality. We've said we have accomplished the functional goals of this website. Now we need to use, we don't need to guess about what users want. We don't need to guess about usability.
Right.
We use the data that we collect to then determine where to move icons, where to do things, where to make things easier. We track where people are going on the site so that we can do intelligent kind of, make intelligent decisions rather than just, I like the button over here.
Right.
I assume we'll put people in front of monitors, record their screenshots here as well, or record their screens as well, and watch what they're doing.
Yep, and we even have some technology that we can have a user, brand new user, never used it before. We plug them in so we record their activity while they're using this app, and we can really sort of study how are people, without any sort of tutorials or anything, how are people going through this and where are they getting stuck, so we can figure out how to move forward better.
One of the things I always tell clients when we're talking about a project is they'll say, well, I like the color green or blue or red, and I like the way this looks. And while they're telling me this, in the back of my head, I'm always thinking the sites that I use the most are the ugliest sites. And also started off as the ugliest.
Right.
And have slowly grown. And the really pretty ones that take time and have lots of pizzazz, I tend not to use as much.
Right.
I think we're accomplishing both here because, one, the budget's been there, and also because we are studying things the right way. So we're giving people the experience that they want as far as functionality, and now we're going to move on to we're giving them the eye candy of the app that we want.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So we're now at the end of this phase, and we've talked about now we're going to try to work on usability. We're going to try to work on making the app a little bit prettier. We're going to clean up all of the bugs. This is an ongoing process. It's not going to be finished. There's never going to be a line in the sand.
Right.
I don't think somebody says Facebook is
Do you
finished.
still work at Facebook?
Right. It's grown to how many millions. So as the site grows, this will grow as well. One of the things we also talked about is as all of these people have done all of this work, we've cleaned up code many times, but we have lots of people working on things.
Right.
We've talked about a good idea would be to set a standard of code. One of the things that has happened with Unite is with any startup app or website is with many people working on it, you have a deadline to get something done.
Right.
So things get ad hoc together, and then you've got to go back in and create a standard for Unite.Social code, clean it up, and then by nature things will work faster, better, all of that kind of stuff. How long would that process take? It's not going to be a month or two. It's several people working for months, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is we have an extensive code base for this project, and it's at the capacity that we could, I would say 6 months would be sort of a low-ball sort of budget.
Of two or three people working on the app all day long.
Yeah, some senior developers working on this, sort of redesigning. Essentially, it's looking at each feature.
Not necessarily redesigning, rewriting, or structuring.
Refactoring.
Refactoring the code. Right.
So that we keep what works and we remove what isn't helping. Or essentially...
So I've written, in other words, I've been given a feature. This is the feature that I've been given. As a developer, I sit down, I write code. I may have got it 80%, right? So then a more senior person comes in and they do pair programming with the previous person, and they write code. And that code's been merged together, and there's the previous code, there's new code, all this code out there.
Maybe you have 500 lines of code that accomplish what you're wanting to accomplish, but maybe we can get it down to 100.
Right, so now we need to clean up all of those, that extra code. And so you would, as the technical officer for the company, you would say, these are the standards that I want followed. I want notes so that anyone who ever uses this will be able to go in and fix it. I need testing done. It wouldn't affect the actual app working. This would be a closed environment where we would clean up one section, launch it. You wouldn't see great improvements every day.
Right.
Once it's all done, it would make development faster.
Right.
It would. What else would it do?
So a year from now, if everything goes along this strategy, we wouldn't have load times that would feel like they're taking a long time to show up. Right now, the application on when you open it up, it looks it's like 37 megabytes or something. The idea is to bring that down to like 15, so cut it in half or more. If we can make this lightweight or as lightweight as possible, that means faster. That means when we scale up to.
So let's discuss it. There's a lot of things that are influenced. So on my phone, things work really fast. On another person's phone, things work slower.
Right. It could be a number of things that affect that. It could be, do you have internet? Do you have, what other background apps are open on your phone? It could be, you name it.
It could be the code that we're talking about as well.
Yeah.
So if all the users are experiencing the same kind of issue,
right.
It's likely either the server or the code. And we spent a ton of money, I know, investing into building the right server environment.
Right.
So if the server speeds are fast, the code is clean, then we're able to better troubleshoot to say, okay, if a user calls up and says, I'm having trouble using the all-in-one feature, then you could walk them through some steps to figure out very quickly what's slowing them down. Are their background apps running? Is their internet very slow? Are there too many connections perhaps on that one area?
Right.
Many different things to consider. So in that area, we're nowhere finished yet. We're at a place where we're ready to beta test and we can continue that development. And certainly people can use it, but if we have 100 million users on this site, we want the code clean.
Yeah, totally.
I think we've tried to address all the things that were on the punch list for this build. We will come back and do additional conversations, probably specific to what Unite.Social wants in a more kind of formal presentation. Maybe do some questions and answers with their team. They're back on Monday, are they?
Yep.
Okay. So we can do that. Is there anything you want to talk about regarding the past 5 days, or the direction of Unite.Social for the way you see it?
I'm not sure if there's anything I'd really add at this point, other than I'm really excited to start seeing what bugs people see. I'm excited for it to be tested and tried, put through the
outside the glass jar.
Exactly. Like, let me know where it breaks, because then we can make it work.
Yeah, I gotcha. We learn from our failures, and in development that means a lot, because things are designed, they fail, we fix it. They fail, we fix it. They work.
One of the things in development, as being a software engineer, you have to be comfortable with errors, and throughout the day, a developer will get on his or her computer and start making something from scratch, because there's no,
there wasn't a book to go do this.
Yeah, everything that we do is, not reinventing the wheel, but it's inventing the wheel.
Sure.
And so, what's the strategy to get a feed to show? What's the strategy to post to, Facebook? You have to think logically about, all right, well, first
and
step,
at the same time thinking about the other networks involved.